Well, here I am, John Tyler, once again bringing you the real truth behind the fake news. Over here in the beautiful digs at Studio C, today's headline that I'm going to concentrate on are the riots over fuel prices in France. And the news media would allow you to believe a tiny bit of the truth. And I'm going to go way down below that headline and show you what the media is up to, who the media is really, who's behind all of this propaganda that you know is going on in your school systems, in the media, in Hollywood, newspapers, you name it. So let's go with the headline that we'll pull right off, and I'll put it up here on the old studio monitor. Headline: Paris rioting over high fuel prices. That in itself is a lie, but let's go with the headline. Here's what the sub-headline of that headline, here's how it reads. Paris, by the AP, Associated Press. The yellow vests, they call them yellow vests because Paris, believe it or not, or maybe all of France, makes every driver wear a yellow protective vest. You talk about the government ruling your life. They're making every citizen who drives wear a yellow vest like a cop would wear. And the reason for that is just in case, one in a zillion times, the person's going to get into an accident and they have to pull their car over to the side of the road. They want the driver or passengers, whatever, to wear these yellow vests. So anyway, the headline, subline is the yellow vests in France are worrying the greens, that is the global warming people, around the world. Why are they worrying them? The byline continues. The worst riots in Paris in decades were sparked by higher fuel taxes, again a lie, and French President Emmanuel Macron responded by scrapping the higher fuel tax on Wednesday. That's this week. This is December the 6th, 2018, that I'm bringing you this news headline, or the truth behind the fake news. And the article went on to say, but taxes on fossil fuels are just what international climate negotiators, boy, they give these people terms. What they mean is progressives. International climate negotiators meeting in Poland this week say are desperately needed to help wean the world off of fossil fuels and slow climate change. This used to be global warming, according to Al Gore. So this is the goal of the so-called progressives, and that is to keep fossil fuel, oil, that's their word for oil, from countries that depend on it for heat and gasoline. Why do they want to prevent us from using God's natural resource from dead dinosaurs, oil? The progressives, and I put that in quote, and I'll show you why in a minute, they use that name because it connotes the word progress. Progressives must mean progress. It connotes new ideas, which they have indoctrinated, by the way, into our school-age children in both public schools and colleges. But if you would please Google these words, Communist Manifesto of 1963. It's very important for you, the viewer here, to go and Google the Communist Manifesto of 1963. And there you will read some of the 45 objectives that progressives, which I call progressives, that's a word buried in wolves' clothing. Progressives are really communists, and they're following that manifesto of 1963. I'm going to highlight a few of those things because you're not going to believe what I say until I prove it, which is what journalists really should be doing. So if you read the Communist Manifesto of 1963, you're going to see that progressives are actually truly communists, and they have the identical agenda. In fact, the manifesto is their agenda. That's what they've been following for 50 some odd years. Okay, their agenda. Please read the manifesto because it affects you and your freedoms. If you're not interested in your future and your freedoms, don't bother. But trust me when I say go there, Google it, study it, and then you'll really appreciate this video in the short and long run. Now, the fuel taxes were really a carbon tax. That means we tried that in the United States and it was shot down. But they're not going to stop. Progressives want a carbon tax everywhere. So French President Macron, who is a globalist, who is an environmentalist wacko, meaning if you tax fuel, gas, oil, carbon of any type, then all you've done was raise the tax. You haven't solved the global so-called climate change problem. So Macron, there's a photo of Presidente Macron up here on the screen. He added fuel to the fire, pun intended here, by instituting a carbon tax. Because France had already taxed fuels to where the price of a gallon of gas cost the average worker there over $7 a gallon, then adding this new tax to the fuel, the gasoline, incited the riots. Progressive communists also call themselves globalists because that word allows viewers and readers of mainstream media and indoctrinated public school and college students to believe that, globalists, they wanted to just be part of a global system of people. You know, one big happy family, globalists. And they get mad at Donald Trump to say, no, I'm a nationalist, meaning I want America first and the rest of the world will benefit by us being a strong economy. Globalists, progressives, communists, same word, they hate that, and I'm going to show you why. And then you'll understand why the media says and does what they do on a daily basis. Okay, let's go. The real agenda of these progressive communist globalists is found in item number 11 of the Communist Manifesto of 1963. Let me read that, item 11, in case you decided not to go there just yet. It says this: promote the UN, United Nations, as the only hope for mankind. If the UN Charter is rewritten, the globalist state in item 11 of the Communist Manifesto, if that's rewritten, they demand that it be set up as a one world, I'm just saying what they're saying, a one world government with its own independent armed forces. Now picture what I just said. What I just read, I should say, because the Communist Manifesto says it. Let me read that to you again. Promote the United Nations in New York temporarily. I think they'll end up in Iran in what's called the Green Zone, 106-acre site, blah, blah, blah. But promote the UN as the only hope for you. And demand that the United Nations be set up as a one world government with its own independent armed forces military. And that manifesto also goes on to say, some communist leaders believe the world can be taken over as easily by the UN as Moscow or anybody else. Well, the world will be taken over, and there will be a new world order, a new single one world government headed up by these progressives. They've been working on it for 50 or 60 years, as you will soon discover. This will be the first time I know that this will be revealed to you, and that's why you should be over here listening to Johnny Boy, because I give you facts, the stuff buried below the headlines that you'll never see in a newspaper or never hear on mainstream media TV. You must understand that this is the goal of the progressive communists, a one-world government. Their goal, clearly stated, is to have a one-world global government that has its own independent armed military. This is why the so-called progressives want us to think global is good and the UN is good. This is why progressives fight to take our guns away. Are you getting this now? If they want the UN to be the one world government or some other power led by progressives, whether UN or not, they want their own independent military, and they've been working on this for years. You've seen that part in the news. Gun control. What gun control means to them is no guns. No guns, no bullets, no weapons to be used against them when this time in the future arrives. If progressives, they're the ones that took over the Democratic Party years ago, by the way, but if they get their way, then gun control will be enacted. Hillary Clinton's been pushing gun control. The Democrats, which are really progressives in Democrat clothing, I'm going to show you why this is important for you to know the Communist Manifesto shortly. They took over that wing of the Democratic Party years ago. If they get to enact gun control, it simply means no guns will be permitted by law. That's what they're pushing for. If you doubt that the progressives or communists have taken over the old Democratic Party that you and I remember, John F. Kennedy, to me, morality went out the window, but he was a good president. And I even cried when I was a kid. I think it was 1983 that he died, was shot in Dallas, Texas. Anyway, let's read item 15 of the Communist Manifesto. If you don't believe me that these progressives are supposed to be taking over one of the political parties in the United States. Item 15, I'm reading, capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. Do you ever hear this in the news? No. Are you ever gonna? No. That's why you need to get out there and read this stuff for yourself. Item 15, capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. Why? Because they can control all three branches of the government, and then they can change the laws. Now, they came real close several times. The president was a Democrat, the House was Democratic, and the Senate was Democrat. But they got fought, thank goodness, all along the way, but that's going to end at some point in the near future. Now, imagine if the progressives regain power again, like they had with the Clintons and the Obamas from the 1990s until 2016. They would have proceeded with their Communist Manifesto agenda. They would have done it. Trump stifled that attempt when he became president in 2016. This is why progressives who own the mainstream media and your children's education system and the TV, movie, and newspaper industries constantly try to educate, meaning brainwash, your kids and you that Trump has to go. He is stopping their agenda. They almost had it made. Of course, you may think about that I'm making this up about progressive communists taking over the education system in the media, so let's review items 17 and 18 of the Communist Manifesto. Let me read 17 for you. Get control of the schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism. Is that happening today? Come on. The millennials, if you will, or the college kids today, they're indoctrinated, brainwashed into that socialism is the correct form of government. and you think that this is something that, oh gee, that's new, or if you're a college kid watching this, I hope, then you'll understand that this was not your idea or your professor's idea. This came directly out of a Communist Manifesto of 1963, item 17. Let me go over it again. Get control of the schools, which they have done. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum. Get control of teachers and teachers' associations. Put the party line in the textbooks. Homosexuality, blah, blah, blah. It's all in the Communist Manifesto. But, number 18, gain control of all the student newspapers. Why would they want to do that? Because they're brainwashing your kids that you're spending all that cash for to put them through an education system, which is really an indoctrination center. Am I getting a little excited? I'll drink to that. Yummy. Ice cold water. Pure water. Let me ask you this question. Have these communist progressives accomplished their goal? The answer is yes. They've accomplished about 95% of what's written in the 1963 Communist Manifesto. Communist, when you hear the word liberal, that means they're really progressive. They're just hiding under that liberal. Liberal means, oh gee, they're liberal, they're generous people. They're open-minded, they're globalists. No, they're communists. So when you hear liberal Democrat, think communist. When you hear progressive, think communist or socialist, whichever you choose. Item number 20 in that manifesto, infiltrate the press. You thought I was kidding, right? In 1963, infiltrate the press. Get control of book review assignments, editorial writing, policy-making positions. That's policy-making positions, not in the government, although that's true, but policy-making decisions of what the news is going to be for the day. Item number 21, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. Folks, if you aren't starting to sweat a little, you should be. So the agenda of these so-called progressives, who are also, as I said, mistakenly called liberals, is to take over the education system and all the media. How they doing? So how then do how then do the progressives who have infiltrated all mainstream media and our education system, how do they get us to the point of having a one-world government or global government? Everything you read about, it's global. They're against nationalism. They want globalism. There's a reason for this. You are being indoctrinated. I was, until I smartened up and decided to do a little research on my own. That's why I have written 8 books so far, and probably 3 or 4 of them have to do with America's 2 holy wars, which include progressives and Islam trying to vie for power over you. But I digress. Reading the Communist Manifesto and then the Bible itself gives us clues as to how these people are going to take over or have a one-world government. Their agenda is found in the 63 Communist Manifesto as well as the Bible. Now, item 25, get this. Break down cultural standards of morality in the world, mainly in the United States. If they can bring America down, the rest of the world will follow just like dominoes. So, item 25 on the manifesto, break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography, which is prevalent today, obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, TV. Are you sick of the obscenity? How about they're promoting all kinds of, like, the transsexuals, the gay stuff? Every TV show you see is F this, F that. Your mother F, I'm sorry to be so blunt, but you know what I'm talking about. And then there's 2 women kissing each other and 2 guys hugging each other and all this kind of stuff. It's by design. It's to get you to break down the cultural standards of morality in the United States. How they doing? Item 26, which I just covered, but item 26 of 1963, they want to, I'm reading, present homosexuality and degeneracy and promiscuity as normal, natural, and even healthy. As you can see, their agenda goals have slowly crept into our society over the last 50 or 60 years. And it started coincidentally in 1963. Oh, Communist Manifesto, 1963. Wait, it all started way back when, in my day, 1963, when these progressives, communists, did what the manifesto says, and they won a court case banning Bible reading or prayers from public school. So now, from 1963 to now, 2018, going into 2019, the kids in the public education system have no reference point, no foundation, no 10 commandments, which they're trying to strike from everywhere you can find too. There's no foundation for them to fall back on, to know what is right, what is wrong. If it feels good, do it. That's the whole manifesto of progressives. June 25th, 1962, here's the court case. Two landmark decisions. One was Engel versus Vitale. That was June 25th, 1962. And the Abington, I'm going to say Massachusetts, School District versus Shemp. That happened on June 17th, 1963. The Supreme Court declared school-sponsored prayer and Bible readings unconstitutional. So the manifesto says, get rid of that stuff. Reduce the morality of America, educate the kids that there is no morality whatsoever. And so in 1963, prayers and Bible readings became unconstitutional. The foundation of morality in itself was taken away from your kids, and maybe you. That, my friend, coincides with the writings of the Communist Manifesto, which I just covered. So what does all of this have to do with the French riots? Which are really not over high gas prices like the media told us, but it was over a carbon tax initiated by globalist, progressive President Macron. He in itself is a global warming guy. He advocates climate change. He promotes this progressivism. It's a worldwide progressive group. Everywhere in the world, the progressives are working together as a group to carry out the agenda written for you and for me in 1963, called the Communist Manifesto. That's on record, by the way, so I'm not just, pie in the sky reading some junk. So the answer, how do these progressives get us to depend on them as a global government body, perhaps under the umbrella of the United Nations, is simple. Here's the key to how they're going to get us to do this thing and how they're going to establish a one-world government. Bankrupt America first, the most powerful nation on earth, and the rest of the world will also go broke. If we go broke, the rest of the world goes broke. Well, so how does that get us into a one-world government, you ask? Oh, you didn't ask? Well, I'm going to tell you. Can I prove this? Oh, yes. Google this, okay? Google is my friend. They shouldn't have come up with Google, but they did. It makes everything, it makes your study easy to do. So Google Cloward, C-L-O-W-A-R-D, and Pivin, P-I-V-I-N. Google Cloward and Pivin strategy, and you're going to find the answer. President Obama, in particular, so did Hillary Clinton, subscribes to the Cloward-Pivin strategy. He doubled the national debt to over $20 trillion from $10 trillion. Doubled it to $20 trillion. Now, what has that got to do with bankrupting the United States? double the debt, that's one thing. But here's how the Cloward and Piven team, who married one another in the 60s, I guess. But here's the written Cloward-Piven strategy. This is a political strategy outlined in 1966, but written prior to that, of course, that called for overloading the public welfare system. You know it as the benefit system or the entitlement system. The strategy, 1960s, was to overwhelm the public welfare system in order to precipitate a crisis that would lead to the replacement of the welfare system. Well, if the progressives could bankrupt the United States through overloading the entitlement program, which they've been trying to do for years now, they can create a crisis. If you will recall having seen Rahm Emanuel, he was Obama's chief of staff, and he said this on TV, and I'm going to play the clip for you in just a minute. But he said this: never let a crisis go to waste. What do you mean by that? Well, he gets specific. Here's that short video that he actually goes on to say that cheap oil must be dealt with, and a fundamental overhaul of the education system, the healthcare system, and the financial system must be dealt with. What he meant was overwhelm all of them. Education, brainwash the kids. Healthcare system, that will bankrupt America. The financial system, that will bankrupt America. So let me play that video for you right now, and I'll be back in just a minute. I want to give you the full shot of this.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. I think America as a whole in 1973 and 1974, and not just my view, but obviously the administration, missed the opportunity to deal with the energy crisis that was before us. For a long time, our entire energy policy came down to cheap oil. This is an opportunity. What used to be long-term problems, be they in the healthcare area, energy area, education area, fiscal area, tax area, regulatory reform area, things that we had postponed for too long that were long-term are now immediate and must be dealt with.
So the goal of the progressives that would have continued, by the way, had Hillary Clinton succeeded Obama in obtaining the presidency in 2016, it would have been to attack those institutions that control the education of our kids and the economic engine of the United States and the world. A crisis would have been presented. And Rahm Emanuel said, never waste one. So how are they going to use that crisis when they overwhelm the financial system of America? Well, not letting a crisis go to waste is the motto of the progressives, or shall I say again, communists. Once people feel threatened by economics perpetrated by the government, the first thing they do is go out into the streets to protest, like they are doing in France. They protest and they may become violent, like they did in France, overturning cars, burning cars. You've seen it in the United States. They kick store windows in, they burn stuff, they loot. Violence, they shoot people. This is why progressives want to take away all guns. To do this, they first have to have the crisis that Cloward and Piven first spoke of. Bankrupt America first, then the people will clamor for a fix. We're broke, we're broke. If you think the French are clamoring now over gas prices, really a carbon tax, then wait until America is really bankrupted. Then the people will clamor for a fix. United Nations or a global government, a united people under the United Nations or a global government will be suggested to you and to me. So if a global government is enacted, and biblically, by the way, this is going to happen, then a new global set of rules and a new global set of laws will be formed. Nobody will have guns except the pre-planned autonomous military force of the New World Order. A new court system will be in place too. I believe that new court system will be run by Muslims or Islam, and Sharia law will be their law or the law of the global community. Imagine progressives running the politics of the earth in this one world government, and then Islam running the court system using Sharia law. Why? So as I was saying, I believe that the new court system will be run by Islam and Sharia law will be the law of the global community. Why do I say that? Progressives, as I said, are anti-God people. They want the power, but they don't want the punishment enforcing power. They will want the Muslim clerics to join them in this world power system, and Islam will do it. Islam's goal, after all, is to have everyone bow their knee to Allah. That is their God. And if not, Sharia law punishes anywhere from amputation for theft of a hand, for example, to stoning for being gay or for adultery, or death for not worshiping Allah. Progressives get the power, Islam gets all the infidels to comply or die. That's like a marriage not made in heaven. To get progressives and Islam working together. This is all, by the way, in a book that I wrote, I think 1994 or 2004, called America's Two Holy Wars. It's on www.relationshipbooks.com, and it's free. All my books are free, all 8 of them. So this brings me to the biblical conclusion now of all that I've talked about so far. The Bible speaks of a time in the end days, which is not too far from now, where the rich and the poor alike will be standing in line to buy food or anything else. Therefore, just in my humble opinion at this point, a famine of huge proportion must take place when this new world order is in place. Now, how could a famine come about? Well, if America is bankrupt and the world is bankrupt and a new world order is formed and they have all the gold that they've been acquiring, by the way, then the only way you're going to buy food, well, I'll tell you what the Bible says, how the only way you're going to be able to buy food. It's not going to be with money, because money will be useless then. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 and 17. You got a Bible at home, read the thing yourself. It speaks of a New World Order leader who does the following. I'm quoting now, so that you know it's not my opinion. He, that is this New World leader, forces all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, that boils down to everybody. This leader forces everybody to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, or on their foreheads for a reason. Well, anyway, he, the leader, forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell anything unless they had this mark. Well, the marks that the writer of Revelation, which was John, not John the Baptist, John the beloved disciple of Jesus, he wrote the book of Revelation, he wrote all of that, but the mark on the hand, he did not know about microchips way back then. He couldn't possibly. But the new technology is that a microchip implanted under the skin here or here eliminates credit cards, of course. They're being planted or implanted in senior citizens in Florida right now in case they wander off from the reservation. Pretty soon they'll suggest that your pets have them, and some pets do already. But anyway, that marks the dog or the senior citizen. In the future, everyone on the planet who accepts this mark will be injected with this little microchip, so that's the only way you're going to be able to buy or sell anything. You go to a machine and you put your hand out there, or they scan your head, and it says who you are. So you can't be a fraud. Too bad they didn't have that in the voting election thing right now. You got to show up and scan your head to make sure that you're a citizen and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they can only receive this mark, according to the Bible, by worshiping the new world leader, who will be a religious icon. Okay, so everyone, rich or poor, shall stand in long lines to buy food or anything else. There will be no protests. If you would see a protest, then that person will be either in jail or killed. So the moral to this entire revelation of how you are being manipulated is simply done to wake you up. Get with it. Understand what's going on beneath the murky headline, beneath the mud and murk of politics. Everybody is scheming out there. They think they're scheming. The fact of the matter is, it's already been prophesied 2,000 years ago when John finished the book of Revelation around 100 AD. It's been prophesied that all of this is going to take place, so there's nothing you can do about it. So the bad news is that nobody in the United States or the world will escape this world government or these end days. We're not going to escape it, none of us. But the good news is that we can all do something about it, and we can do something about it right now, if you prefer. To save you time and energy of having to discover the only solution to this coming problem is to direct you to this website. I'll put it on the mag screen here. It's www.johntyler.com/salvation with a capital S.htm. There you will discover what you have to do to avoid all the troubles that none of us are going to be able to escape. So take the smart way out, do the right thing, go to that website, and there you go. But I did want to educate you at least on what's going on beneath the phony headlines, fake news as Trump calls it, because it's all fake. It's really all manipulation of you. But if you get to know the truth, the underlying truth of the media, politics, all the stuff that's arrayed against you and me, then at least you understand, and I don't get scared or nervous because I know what's coming. And so you have to prepare for that eventuality. Anyway, I'll see you next time. We'll pick out another headline that's going to be fake, or certainly not covered the way we're going to cover it when I see you next. With that, I bid you adieu, French word meaning ta-ta, and I'll see you next time.